Joe Adcock was born in October 30th, 1927, and his nickname was Billy Joe Adcock. And he was named after a Vanderbilt basketball player, and it was popularized by Vince Scully. I think his wife told me that he really should have been called the Silent Assassin because being a roommate of Johnny Logan, he didn't get a chance to say much. I'm not going to go over his whole career, you know, about the home runs, but I'm just going to mention 4 things because there's probably not 10 people in the room that even know what these parks look like or anything. But in 1953, he hit the first home run at the Polo Grounds into center field. 54, he had the Evans Field 4 home runs and a double. And again, he broke up Harvey Haddock's perfect game with what should have been a home run if Felix Mantilla would have stayed on the base paths. And Felix was on base too, right? I think both of those. Yeah.
Yes,
Felix scored that. So anyway, he has some ties to Wisconsin also. He used to go fishing over at Jim Kelcher's farm, loved to get some trout. And, but his best catch was Joanne. When he first came here and got hurt, Joanne from Dodgeville, Wisconsin, was working for Dr. Brewer, who used to be the Milwaukee Braves physician. And Joe had some paralysis in his hand, and he went over to the hospital, or to the doctor, and she took care of him. After one treatment, he proposed. First treatment. Joanne said no. So it was the following year they'd come back from spring training, and he was relentless and asked her again. This time, she did accept, and it took until November before they got married, and he told you about the wedding being set up a little bit early because they heard there were buses coming from Milwaukee from the baseball fans, and they didn't want to have all that hoopla. So, on behalf of the Adcock family, grandson Jamie and Joanne will accept. Thank you.
My grandmother's shy, so if you would, please ask her to join me. Wow, this will be a memorable night for my family and I for the rest of our lives. And I want to thank the city of Milwaukee, the Brewers organization, this fine table of people here, specifically Mr. Johnny Logan, Mr. Kaminsky, you've been great the last couple of days, and then everyone else involved in this organization. I want to say thank you very much for this night. And on behalf of my grandmother and my family, and on behalf of my grandfather, who throughout this next 2 minutes or so I'll refer to as Papaw, because that's what I call him. It's an honor and privilege to be here with everyone today. In the 19 years I spent with Papaw, I can say that with near certainty that he was not long-winded in crowds, and he never minced words. So it's my intention to honor him tonight with a similar approach. So what does that mean to you? Simply put, I'm going to say what I want to say, and I'll be short and sweet with it. As a kid, the stories Papaw would tell me about his time in the majors, particularly his time here in Milwaukee with the Braves, they truly seem larger than life. Some of my favorite baseball stories are the same ones all of you here today know. The monster home run at the Polo Grounds, 4 home runs and a double in a single game. Breaking up Harvey Haddock's no-hitter in the 13th inning, and by the way, what an honor to meet Mr. Mantilla today, who scored the only run in that game. Being a part of the World Series championship team back in 1957. And my personal favorite story was the beaning story by Felix Gomez, in which my grandfather charged him out. And I just read a snippet of this book a second ago. I suggest if you haven't read it, please pick it up. Really interesting. And of course, the countless stories of he and Mr. Eddie Matthews. We're fortunate to have his son here today, and Mr. Johnny Logan. To this day, I honestly thought a lot of those stories were kind of make-believe, just the personalities of Mr. Matthews and Mr. Logan, but after spending about 20 minutes talking to Mr. Logan today, I'm confident that my grandfather was not exaggerating. What you don't know, however, are some of the stories that are dearest to my heart, and the ones that portrayed the true essence of who my papa was and the legacies he left, and I'd like to share a couple of those with you tonight. A 16-year-old small-town Louisiana boy goes to LSU on a basketball scholarship, having rarely played baseball, joins the baseball team and gets drafted by the Reds, has a hugely successful major league career, returns back home to his small town where he starts a very successful thoroughbred racing farm, which, by the way, still exists today and is one of the largest and most productive in the Southeast. Legacy. Work hard to achieve the things you're passionate about and never forget where you came from. The stories of the fishing and hunting trips that he took with friends, both from his baseball career, from friends that he had growing up, and friends that he met along the way. Legacy. It's important to take time out, relax, and enjoy life. Seeing countless numbers of both kids and adults throughout the years of my grandfather asking him for photographs and autographs, and him always saying yes with a smile, and I mean always. I never saw him say no. Legacy. Be grateful and appreciative. Riding with him to pick up my grandmother, take her to church on Sunday, all the while balancing the intricacies of a family that includes Methodists, Catholics, and Southern Baptists. Keeping the focus on Christ was important to him. Legacy. Be faithful. God loves you and he wants you to love him. And my absolute favorite story, Mr. Kaminsky stole the thunder a little bit, but meeting my grandmother, Joanne, who's from Dodgeville, after being hit by a pitch and breaking his wrist, she happened to be a nurse that literally nursed him back to health. And like Mr. Kaminsky said, my grandfather told me the same story. He wasted very little time telling his friends and her that she was going to be his wife. Legacy, love big, and be sure those that you love know that you love them. In closing, I'll say a few months back I received a photo in the mail from a second cousin of mine, Laurie Brown, who can't be here tonight. It was a picture of my papa holding me as a baby, and it was taken when I was 1 week old. There was a date on the bottom of the photo. In the photo, you can clearly see the smile on my grandfather's face. It was a smile I remember seeing countless times in the 19 years I had the opportunity to spend with him. It was a smile of someone who was proud and grateful. And tonight, it's an honor to be in a position to give that back to him. To look at his legacy, smile, be proud, and be grateful for the time that I had with him and the lessons I'm continuing to learn from him. And I really thank you guys, all of my teams, a ton of us. Thank you so much.